I'm John Dinkle. For the past 25 years, I have tracked the fortunes and the misfortunes of Chrysler from a unique perspective, from inside the company as an engineer and outside the company as an automotive writer and tester. The company has reinvented the way it does business, describing its recovery as having been forged out of the twin cornerstones of teamwork and technologies, people and the right products. Chrysler readily admits that the K car and its derivatives kept it going throughout the 80s, but its product comeback really began with the 1993 introduction of the mid-size Dodge Intrepid and last year's introduction of Dodge's new small car, Neon. Recently, I was part of a team from Car and Driver which journeyed to Auburn Hills, Michigan, site of Chrysler's all-new $1 billion technology center. We were there to document the creation of one of Chrysler's latest products, the Dodge Stratus, and how it evolved from concept to production. We talked to the teams of engineers and designers who would help forge the rebirth of the new Chrysler Corporation and the birth of this newest Dodge. Work on the Stratus was started by a small team of engineers, product planners, designers, and marketing specialists. The challenge? Create a Dodge that could compete with and even beat the imports.
The criticality for Dodge Stratus was that we had to take and focus on a customer that was younger, was in a lot of respects more affluent, certainly had a lifestyle different than we were selling in that market today. So we had to change our focus to a much younger customer, a customer really that in many cases had never bought a domestic car. In fact, their domestic vehicle was probably a pickup truck or a minivan, because most of them are buying Japanese products. So we knew to get that market back, we were going to have to do a car that appealed to that type of person.
We really tried to focus on customers, on real people, and not necessarily on Honda Corporation or Toyota or Ford or GM. And we just said to ourselves, if we go and satisfy the needs of people, we'll be successful. So let's go out and find out what those people want. And what we found out they wanted was a fun-to-drive car, had great styling, lots of room for all their things and stuff, be that children or packages or boxes or whatever, golf clubs, and make the thing safe and provide it at a good price point. Those are our key ingredients.
We learned that design is many things, from colors and surfaces that minimize glare, to using computers to design seats that reduce driver fatigue.
Where we felt we really had a strong potential advantage, competitive advantage, was in the exterior design and the application of the cab-forward architecture. That was going to set the cars apart from the Camry and the Accord. This is our third generation of cab-forward design now, which was introduced first with Intrepid, then we followed on with Neon, and now Stratus became the next logical candidate for this very practical architecture.
You want the import buyer to be able to find things that they're familiar with, like the stalk on the left and the stalk on the right. Then everybody knows that's where the lights are, that's where the wipers are. We tried to position the heater and radio controls where they were really easily accessible, so that when you get in the car, it's got a nice, friendly, soft, sculpted look that makes it appear that somebody really cared what those surfaces look like. That the controls are where they expect them to be. There's nothing obscured behind the steering wheel, or you don't have to hunt around to find things. Everything is presented to you very clearly and straightforwardly.
CATIA has its origins in the aerospace industry, and what it really does, it allows the engineers to see their parts in three-dimensional space and see how those parts relate to all the other parts of the car. And that becomes very important to the engineers when they're trying to decide how to modify their part to either fit it in the car better or make it more serviceable, or just improve this durability. So you can get a team of engineers around a computer tube looking at the parts in three-dimensional space and understanding the ramifications of their design changes.
We can start establishing how the vehicle is going to perform, how it's going to ride, handle, how it will perform for safety requirements. So this is a fantastic tool for engineering because it puts us in a mode of actually designing the vehicle towards our targets rather than reacting to what we get once we build that first prototype.
Building safety into the car starts with the very first line drawn on a computer.
There are things in the car that the customer won't even really see objectively, but they're there to help keep them safe from harm. Dual airbags. We have an available child safety seat. We have ABS brakes standard on the Stratus ES and available on our base car. But we also have side impact protection, which we accomplish through putting foam in our door trim panels, and also by just the shape of the car. See, people don't realize that when you look at the front of the car, you'll see it has a real nice shape to it, and that's the body side shape. And what that does, it makes the car look great, it makes the car look low and hungry and aggressive, but it also gives us more crush space if our customer would happen to get hit in the side.
What we're showing here is the Stratus front impact simulation. This is a finite element model simulating a federally required impact at 30 miles an hour. It's a flat frontal impact into a rigid cement barrier. This model was developed and started being analyzed about 3 years before production, so that by the time we got down to maybe 2 years before production, was around the time that we'd have prototype vehicles and start impacting them, we were, instead of on impact number 1, we were really on probably impact number 50 or 60. Once we've got a good handle on the performance of the body construction, we marry that with a model of the interior occupants, because again, nobody cares what happens to the car. What's really important is what happens to the occupant inside.
Many tests can be conducted electronically using computer models subjected to the same forces and loads a prototype vehicle would encounter in real-world testing. Later, computer results will be verified by using a few prototype models. Car companies still employ highly skilled modelers to convert the designer's ideas into three-dimensional clay models. Scale models are a useful tool for checking aerodynamic drag, but many tests still require full-scale prototypes. We discovered an all-new meaning to the word jamming when we visited Chrysler's sophisticated electrical interference lab. Cars these days are rolling computers, and their computers must function flawlessly despite bombardment from radio waves and other electronic interference. Customer satisfaction demands vehicles that are quiet and that operate without fuss or bother at extremes of temperature. Today's customer is much more demanding than his counterpart of only a decade ago. Comfort and convenience and feature content are critical to the success of any new automobile these days.
A lot of these younger families, like I said, they don't want to give up everything just because they have to buy an extra set of doors in their car. They want those features. They want to have fun when they drive the car. The car has to be safe, it has to be reliable, it has to have the room that they need to carry their things around.
Well, the windshield is certainly the largest in its class, and it starts fairly stiff at the bottom, but in character it radiuses in side view and develops an arc to the roof that puts the high point of the roof right over the driver's head, hence an immense amount of headroom in the car.
In terms of package, that's what cab forward gives us. More room for man, less room for machine. And the Stratus is a great example of that. We have more rear legroom than the Taurus, which is a car much longer and bigger than ours. And again, this whole styling, the element of a good-looking car, a great-looking car. So we get package out of the cab forward, we get a great-looking car out of the cab forward. So that was also a really important element to our customer. We looked at it a little differently. I think traditionally people say rear seat room, can I get my knees in there without hitting the seat? But we said, can you get a rear-facing child seat in the back seat of the car? That's an important thing. I don't know if you ever had to try to drive a car with a manual transmission when the child seat makes you sit too close to the wheel. Again, a different look at things. Different people see things through different eyes. And to us, we wanted to make sure we could get that seat in there. So that was important to us.
Performance is different things to different drivers. High fuel economy, quick responsive steering, smooth effortless acceleration, a soft quiet ride.
Well, to us, fun to drive was multi-valve engines, both V6 and 4-cylinder. It was a short, long-arm suspension, a double wishbone type suspension that really would make the car handle and stick to the road like glue. It's the tires the Michelin tires that we have on the car, the Greenix tires, which are just outstanding traction tires in the wet and also in dry pavement.
We tried to focus on some European cues. We know that European cars use a lot of low-speed damping, for example, in the front, and we tried to do some of that. And the biggest thing about the car is really the chassis balance.
Maybe the chassis is where we spend most of our time engineering the car to be what the car is today. It's a long wheelbase with good weight balance. We spend enough money in our terms in the suspension so we could get a good balance between ride, harshness on one side and precise handling, steering on the other side.
Want to put your seatbelt on?
Yep.
Yeah, probably should. when you have a stiff body, you can tune the suspension to do what it's supposed to do rather than to try to control what the entire body of the car is doing. When it's not all flexing on you, you can concentrate on putting the rubber on the road.
Amongst all the Chrysler cars, the Stratus has the most sophisticated suspension.
What you can do with a multi-link suspension is you can get the handling and not sacrifice the ride.
Our entry-level engine is a 2-liter SOHC 16-valve 4-cylinder, and the 2-liter is offered exclusively with a manual.
The 2-liter 5-speed is extremely light and fun to drive, more so than the other ones. The 2.4 is more responsive, but still a 4-cylinder engine like a Honda.
The 2.4 is our meat and potatoes engine, and really is, this market segment is very strong 4-cylinder. So we felt like we needed a very strong 4-cylinder automatic, which is the bulk of the volume. And the 2.4 liter is designed just for that purpose. But it actually feels just as strong off the line and in-town type driving as the 2.5 liter does, with a little bit less at the top end.
And the 2.5 V6 is smoother and more flat torque type.
There's a certain number of our customers that just demand that V6 feel, and the 2.5 is there for them.
Either you believe in people or you don't, and I happen to believe in people, and the people I met through that whole process were just outstanding. And I just said, you know, we can do this. I was convinced of myself inside that together I know we could do it.
And clearly, initially, the team was a little nervous about taking on such a gigantic task because we didn't have a lot of cost to put into the product. We clearly had to keep the price down on the product. But once we got the team formed and we started clearing our objectives and getting into really doing the car, it was interesting to see how quickly people said, you know, if we work at it, we can, in fact, do as good as they are doing today. And in fact, I think we've produced a car that clearly will match the Japanese in many aspects of the vehicle. And as a total vehicle, I think it's a better product than any of the Japanese in the marketplace today.
It's just a great thing. You put so much time and energy into a project like this, and then the person you're really trying to sell the car to, the consumer, is coming back saying, hey, you did a great job, and that's just the biggest compliment anybody on any team could ever have, really.
This is about a market that has been dominated by Germans and Japanese, and people have been very happy with their cars for many years, so why would they change to buy a Stratus today? Well, we had to find something that the other people are not doing yet. They will now that we have done it.
When we talked to Chrysler executives, it became clear that they believe the Chrysler turnaround began with its people. What Chrysler is doing is empowering teams of engineers and designers with the tools, the money, and the responsibility, and then getting out of their way and letting them get the job done. For Car and Driver, I'm John Dinkle.
It's about change. About breaking rules and making new rules. About building machines more in harmony with humanity. It's about questioning everything. It's about change. The new Dodge.